Welcome to Staying Sweet, the podcast. Tune into my weekly podcast to hear me, Alice Bradley, delve deeper into building your brand and enjoying a luxury lifestyle. All while staying sweet, of course. Whether you're looking to level up in business, start something of your own, or balance a more exciting, fulfilling, and healthier lifestyle, each episode will be created especially to inspire and encourage your own success, so you can really have it all. Plus, don't miss out on the Staying Sweet specials, a series of exclusive interviews and conversations with Alice Bradley's network of inspiring entrepreneurs and brand owners. Always protect your sweetness, your light is not a weakness. Don't forget, there are new episodes every Monday. For daily content, you can check out my Instagram and you can follow me at alicelucybradley. Stay sweet! Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Staying Sweet, the podcast. I am doing a solo episode today, and it feels really nice to kickstart today's episode talking about London Fashion Week. We have London Fashion Week coming up imminently. By the time you guys are listening to this episode, it's literally the week of, and we've already seen some traction already with Fashion Month, and it's just so nice to see how busy Fashion Month has become once again. It's been a weird time, and I wasn't quite sure how we were going to be receiving Fashion Month since the pandemic. I really did think that the pandemic had affected Fashion Month for good, but there is some sort of traction that I'm noticing, and the reason I wanted to chat about London Fashion Week today is because it was such a great opportunity for me as a photographer, as a journalist, a creator, and just as a brand and a business-minded person, because you are completely surrounded by people who can change your life. You are also privy to all sorts of access in terms of contacts and businesses, brands that are doing all the right things and showcasing their brands and their sponsors at London Fashion Week. So this episode is going to just touch on my experience of London Fashion Week and what it's meant for me. Firstly, I want to do some updates and just let you guys know that I am going to be at London Fashion Week. Not at the full capacity and not quite how I've previously done it. Normally I work the actual shows, and the first few seasons that I actually did London Fashion Week, I was working the shows as a PR assistant. I was sitting down and escorting celebs and influencers and creators to their seats. That was essentially the job that I had for London Fashion Week, and it was so incredible to get access to those types of people and be surrounded by those types of people for 5 days. But this season is a little bit different. I'm kind of hybriding a few sort of ideas together. You know me, I can't stick to one type of thing. The last couple of seasons before the pandemic hit, I was shooting simply street style, and that's actually where my skills in photography developed. But this season it's going to be a little bit different because I'm actually going to be attending events as an influencer and a creator as well. So it's really hard to kind of balance them all. And I really do think if you're someone like me who is in different elements of the industry, really pick and focus on one part of the industry for Fashion Week, just because it's so quick and fleeting, and it's one of those types of weeks that's just so emotionally draining, but is also the best decision you will ever make. Like, the people you will meet, the contacts you'll obtain, just be really switched on. If it's something that you want to get yourself into and you've never done it before and you think, wow, this sounds like something for me, I am going to see what I can do in terms of gathering some contacts, and if you are interested in specifics, I will see what I can do in helping you for sort of future seasons. But just drop me a message on Instagram. My Instagram is at alicelucybradley. I would be more than happy to offer specific advice for kind of finding your way. But I think that's what this podcast episode is going to touch on, just the types of things that you can do during Fashion Week. It's very events heavy, and if you're somebody who wants to get into the events and marketing side of things, this is your opportunity to network and brush shoulders with marketing experts, brands that are just on the top of their game working at these shows, brands that just have obtained access to some of the most amazing contacts. So yeah, today is all about Fashion Week and just focusing on what you can do to level up your career by attending something like this. You don't even have to have tickets, guys. It's just simply being around the people that are going to be there. It's about networking. For 2 seasons after I left the PR space that I was in, I was just simply going and finding out where the shows were being held and standing outside with a camera, which I'm going to delve into properly in just a moment. But firstly, I want to start off with an affirmation of the week, which is I am open to receiving new opportunities that will further my career. This just really takes on that principle and that mindset that if you keep an open mind, you're more likely to see opportunities around you. Sometimes opportunities come in the most unexpected ways, and London Fashion Week for me was one of those experiences. I went in very blindly. I knew I wanted to do something in fashion, and just to kind of give you a backstory as to how I really understood Fashion Week, I won tickets in, I think it was 2013. I was still at college, and I won tickets with Vodafone. It was a Twitter competition at the time, and I won London Fashion Week tickets for the opening show, which was JJS Lee, and I can't remember specifically what year that would have been. It was September, so it probably would have been for the following year, for like 2014, so spring summer 2014, which seems like forever ago. But I was lucky enough to win 2 tickets. I took my mum with me and we went to Somerset House because that's where it was originally showed. All the shows would be in this event space on the Strand. It's actually still shown around the sort of Strand area, but it's very all over the place this time around, and the last few years it's just not really been what it used to be. But it's still an experience that I think if you're in the fashion industry or you want to get into this type of industry, I would highly recommend it regardless. You just kind of have to take the experience at face value, and you're only going to get and obtain the necessary experience if you do the necessary work. If you do the bare minimum, you will only receive the bare minimum. This is your opportunity to shine, and you have to remember this is where all egos meet at the door and they're all in the same place. So you really do have to stand out, and that's not in a way that you have to dress super crazy. I know a lot of people do, and I think a lot of people take the mick out of that, and it's something that has been parodied for a number of years, you know, from even back in the 90s and sort of early noughties with Ab Fab. It was that type of parody, and you can joke about it and you can say, oh my gosh, how tragic, but actually most of the time it's what it's like. But there's some sort of fun and flair to it that if you're the right person for the job, it will feel like the most amazing experience in the world. It's not for everyone, I have to say. It is very ego driven, and you just have to bear that in mind. But I think it really taught me a lot about valuing my own personal value and my own self-confidence. It was just a time for me to show up and just not pretend to be someone that I was not, and just take on this air of you don't get what you don't ask for, and sometimes you really do have to fake it until you make it. And a lot of the people that I ended up sort of networking with and taking pictures of, I had no experience. I actually snuck my camera into London Fashion Week and was not a photographer. So my first few seasons I was working for a London-based fashion PR, and they had a lot of shows that they looked after. It was in this building called the Freemasons Hall in sort of Holborn, Covent Garden way. And it was just this really sort of grand building inside, and soon I kind of worked out what it is I was doing. It was quite scary at first because I honestly had no idea what I was doing. My job essentially was to escort people into the venue space, look at their ticket, look at the like little coloured stamp that they had, and then sit them to the appropriate seat. But when you're at these types of events, you're obviously going to brush shoulders with very famous people that are much higher up in the industry than you, and okay, it can be a very like starstruck experience. I definitely think in my first week, or my first like fashion week, I was kind of not overwhelmed by the people that I was brushing shoulders with, but it was definitely a culture shock, and it was very exciting. And I quickly realised that there was only going to be one way that this was going to work out, and it was not to fan over and get too overexcited about the people that I was with, just because it didn't look professional. And I knew I wanted to come back for another season. So my advice in this type of industry, when you are kind of first getting your foot in the door, you do quickly brush shoulders with, I don't know, just people that maybe you deem up there in society, and it can feel really surreal at first that you're even in the same room as certain individuals, but you have to really strip it back and just see it as they are the same as you. You're on the same level, even though I know mentally we're not trained to believe that about ourselves, but you have to really just take and strip back what and who they are and what you know about those people, and just see it as, okay, this is my job, this is what I need to do. And when you deliver and you achieve things well, it just shines through, because there's a lot of people that will go into these types of experiences, internships and things, that are going in not for very shallow reasons, but just not really observing and kind of reading the room. People that have been in and attended many a show will not kind of waver in appreciating somebody famous. It's just not the done thing. And I think once you let go of this need to kind of please that person because of who they are, it really does help you in the long term. It does enable you to really build a thick skin, and you just take things as face value. I feel like I say face value a lot with these types of topics, but you have to kind of step back from what you think an industry is and look at it for what it actually is and what it's going to serve you. And if you have to look at it this way, think of it as its own little world. It's very small. Everybody knows everybody. It's a network. It's really important that you set off on the right foot. You kind of network away, and you really just get your name out there and a feeler for the types of things that you want to do. I love Fashion Week because you really do get to see different styles of the industry, different elements of the industry. There's so much that goes into it. The people that work Fashion Week are some of the most hardworking people, especially in PR. PR is exceptionally difficult, and hats off to any PR that can pull off a fashion show, seat the celebs in time, because everybody wants a picture, and yeah, it's very posy. It's hard to get people sat down. I learnt that the hard way with a lot of sort of people. There'd always be the biggest stars sort of arriving late, and yeah, I just think it was a really fun time and a really great experience, and I'm so glad I did it. But one of the first sort of seasons that I attended as an intern for this fashion PR, I snuck my camera in. And when people ask me, Alice, how did you get into photography? This is probably the stepping stone, the real moment that I realised fashion photography was for me. I didn't have any skill whatsoever, and I'm pretty sure my camera was on automatic, but I had no skill and no knowledge, so it was all I could do. I essentially sat all the celebs down, and then at the end of sitting everyone down, the lights would go down, and the only people allowed to stand in the sort of galleys and the gaps, if you will, around the catwalk were the people that had sat the celebs down and the influencers. So I was very lucky in being in this prime spot. So I think it was maybe my second or third day in, I just brought my camera. I thought, what is there to lose here? I really just want to see what I can do. I want to take some fun pictures. I'd got this new camera at Christmas and just decided to take some photos. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I have many of them, but yeah, they were quite shocking. Very, very overexposed. I didn't know what I was doing with the lighting and the setup, because obviously it's all this artificial heavy light. And I learned very quickly that I enjoyed fashion photography, and I knew I wanted to do it in some way. I got a real kick out of it, and I ended up just posting the photos as is on my Instagram. And I remember towards the end of Fashion Week, I remember one of the head PR owners had come across my Instagram, and she just sort of pulled me to the side and she said, how did you get these photos? And I was so scared. I honestly thought, that's it, she's found out that I've stuck this camera into Fashion Week and I'm not allowed to do it, and I'm going to be in trouble and I'm going to get fired. And it wasn't the case at all. She actually really loved the photos that I'd taken and wanted me to shoot and kind of upload the photos that I'd posted to their PR page. And I was just so blown away. Bearing in mind I had no skill whatsoever. And I just thought, why not? I'll give these photos to the PR. This sounds like an incredible opportunity. And it ended up being something that I did for a good few seasons, and I absolutely loved it. It was very stressful and high anxiety inducing, because it's early mornings, late nights, and there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to get it right. But as somebody who just didn't want to give up, I just kind of took away this idea that I didn't know what I was doing, and I just had to act like I knew what I was doing. And yeah, by a few seasons in, I was sitting in the press pit, I was taking photos, and some of my favourite fashion photography pictures were taken during that time. Granted, I take this idea that they're not going to be perfect because I didn't really know what I was doing, but I have this appreciation for where I was on my journey to just understanding what it is I wanted to do and just learning how to shoot photography. And do you know what was so brilliant? How open and understanding the other photographers were in the press bit. Don't get me wrong, there were some really rude people, and you're going to have to expect that. People aren't going to be very accepting of a novice with a novice camera in a press pit when they're selling their photos to the Daily Mail and they're making a shed load of money. But I quickly struck up some conversations with some really big UK photographers, one of which I'm not in contact with him anymore. I need to actually find out his contact info and get back in touch, because he was this guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he was a pap photographer, and we struck up a very good deal and a very good relationship in that I would ask him lots of questions about how to set up my camera for the space, and I just would say, look, can you set this up for me? And the thing that really made me valuable to him was he had no clue who these particular influencers were that were sitting on the front row. He didn't really know very many reality stars, because at the time that I'd just started doing Fashion Week, Love Island and X on the Beach, those types of shows were really taking off, and for some reason all these people were just sitting and lining the front row. So a lot of the pap photographers did not have a clue who these people were. However, as somebody who watches a load of reality TV, I was like, look, I can tell you these exact names. They will track well on the Daily Mail website. Let's do a deal here. You help me learn how to shoot photography and I will give you the names. And what you have to remember with pap photography is how quickly they have to turn around the shots. They have to get those images as soon as those shots are taken, as soon as the lights come back up after the fashion show, those images have to be sent off, and the level of pressure for them is immense. So it really helped him, and I think he really liked being able to just give me advice, and it was so nice being able to see the same faces every season. You really do begin to build this rapport, and it's such a shame that London Fashion Week had to stop and halt for pretty much 2 years with the pandemic. It was just such a hard time. And if you guys don't know how Fashion Week works, we have a Fashion Week in February and we have a Fashion Week in September. So for every year there's 2 seasons, and that is a really big chunk to miss out on. Pretty much for me, I missed out on 2 full years. I didn't end up doing last year just because it really wasn't the same, and I just didn't see any worth at the time in me going all the way up to London for pretty much all digital shows. It just didn't seem like a good idea at the time, so I just gave it a miss last year. But this year I just see it as an opportunity to really get myself back in the game, and I'm hoping that people are going to start to see the value of Fashion Week as a networking opportunity. Okay, yeah, it's a bit posy, yeah, it's a bit pompous, whatever, you can call it whatever it is, but at the end of the day, if you go in with the mindset of I'm going to obtain contacts, I'm going to take amazing photos, I'm going to give my business cards out to people, it's literally the biggest networking event. It's a week of networking. Like, why would you not want to hop onto that? Why would you not want to tap into that? So if you're somebody who is shooting photography, or you are wondering how you're going to get yourself into the fashion industry, get your foot in the door, this season may not even be for you, but if you can just show up and find out where the shows are, I'm going to link lots of stuff in the show notes for you guys to check out. Just some like little introductory things that you can look at if you're wanting to see if you can attend London Fashion Week. It's very late notice, probably by the time you're listening to this, but if you are available from Friday the 18th of February to Tuesday the 22nd of February, get yourself to London. drop me a DM, let me know, like, let's do something. I'm super busy. I'm actually going to be there, but I will see what I can do, if we can work together, if I can send you some way, and just get yourself there. Just attend in some format, even if it's just standing outside of the shows, taking photos. Right before the pandemic actually hit, September 2019, I shot lots of street style photography, and it was incredible, guys. I really got myself out of my comfort zone that season and just accepted this idea that if I wasn't going to show up and at least try, then I was ultimately going to fail anyway. So I might as well just get myself out there, get down to Fashion Week. I made a few contacts and people on the first day, and we stuck together and we worked out where a lot of the shows were. Actually, fun fact, guys, I found out where the Burberry show was happening, because everything's typically hush-hush when you're not invited. Big shows like the Burberry show. So typically with big shows like Burberry or the bigger designers, they don't reveal any information, not even on the British Fashion Council website, about the specific location of the show, just because it invites lots of paparazzi, lots of press. These are really big people that tend to show up. And for me, I really wanted to just get one big designer under my belt, not necessarily in the show. I hope one day to, fingers crossed, be available to go to a big massive show, but I knew I could get there and shoot street style. And actually, I was just kind of scouring Twitter. I was in London on the day, and I was looking on Twitter, sat in a coffee shop, and somebody had tweeted that they'd seen this massive banner for Burberry, and I was like, oh, that's a bit bizarre. And I looked at it, and funnily enough, about 3 or 4 months prior, I'd actually gone for a meeting in this particular area of London, so I just remembered the visual layout of where this photo was taken. And I instantly knew where the Burberry show was being held. And this person had just innocently tweeted an image of just a massive Burberry banner. It wasn't even a banner. It was like literally on and projected onto the building. It was part of the building. And I knew exactly where to go. I grabbed my kit and my friend, and I just said, right, we have got to get there in the next half an hour, because that show's happening. And we have got to get there. Like, no questions. We have to make this work. And it was crazy. We were some of the first photographers to actually get to the press pen. It was a bit of a weird one. I've never seen it before, where they actually cut off the amount of photographers just on the street that they allow. But they had only let so many in, and we literally just made it. And it was this group of photographers who, all in their own rights, are just incredible. I will link as many of them as I can below. Some really amazing fashion photographers that I'm hoping to actually one day get on this podcast, just because they are so incredible. But there was just a group of us, and this was my moment to shine. I knew I didn't have the right kit. I didn't really know what I was doing. The sun was setting, because it was this sort of late afternoon, early evening sort of time. We were losing light very quickly, but I knew a lot of people were going to be showing up at this show, and it did not disappoint. So I ended up getting photos of people like Naomi Campbell, FKA Twigs, Dua Lipa and her then boyfriend Anwar Hadid. There was some Euphoria cast. There were so many people. Lily Aldridge, I remember getting a photo of. Kate Blanchett. I could not believe how many people were arriving at this show. Anna Wintour, it was just another level. It was so surreal. And for me to capture some street style images, unfortunately not all of them came out great, but that's okay, because you learn on the job, you gain experience, you network, you learn lessons. If you don't go out and you show up, you're never going to learn. You will never make those mistakes that will inevitably lead to your growth. So get yourself out there. Honestly, the amount of people I have been able to network with, big and small, even just people who I've interned with, guys, who were on the same level as me. We all were in the same situation. A lot of us were studying or wanting to get ourselves into the industry, and it's so nice because a lot of them I still have on Instagram, and just seeing their success and where they're going within the industry, it just shows you that the contacts you make from a very early age, whether you do a degree or not, regardless, those experiences, those internships, those people are going to one day be in positions of power, and it's only a matter of time. And that is why you need to nurture the people that you meet at the bottom until you get yourself to the top, because those are the people who will clap for you. They will, because they've seen your growth, they've been there, they've seen you at this like humbled level. Not to say that when you climb to the top you're not humble, but I think they see you at this level that they can really appreciate your success. And I have a lot of really amazing close friends who I've been really lucky enough to have from industry and just from London Fashion Week experience. So I'm really blessed. I think it's a great opportunity. It's very easy to get caught up in almost the bitchiness of it, and I'm so glad that things are starting to really shift, but don't get caught up in that. It's not about comparing yourself to others. It's not about bitching about somebody's outfit because they're a little bit garish. Maybe that's giving them the confidence that they need to show up and just be there. You don't know someone's story. You don't know why they're there. They may just be like putting on this whole like character because that's what they need to just show up and be there. So I highly recommend you get yourself down to Fashion Week, and I just want to open up the opportunities more. I think maybe I need to do something more regularly in the lead up to Fashion Week, maybe for next season, get something together. Let me know, guys. Drop me a message on Instagram and let me know if you'd like me to share a real breakdown and maybe some contacts. Maybe I'll gather some contacts in readiness for September season, so you guys can intern, you can get the experience. But yeah, really utilize your network if you can. Get yourself business cards. This is probably the biggest piece of advice I would give, and it's so small, but having business cards changed my outlook on myself and others' outlook on me. Because if I had a business card, then I was already an industry professional, when I really wasn't. I had business cards from the very first season of Fashion Week. So that made me stand out, and the contacts that I have today were obtained through just handing my cards out, getting my name out there. It's funny, I've never actually got rid of my business cards. I still have my business cards from when I first made them, and it's so fun and cute to see the progression because, oh my gosh, they're so cringy, but it's so nice. Just make a business card. It doesn't have to be expensive. Vistaprint if you want to keep it cheap and cheerful, but if you want to invest and get some nice like creative style business cards, Moo is very good as well. But just be savvy with yourself, branch out, talk to people that you don't know, introduce yourself, and make the most of the situation, because this is your networking opportunity. And I think that's what I just want to leave you with, guys. Every single experience, event, situation you go through as you build your career and climb to the top is going to really benefit where you are in the long term. So just be nice to as many people as you can, and yeah, smile, network, and introduce yourself, because you will see the growth from that. So I really hope this podcast has been beneficial and just a really nice insight and a little breakdown into Fashion Week. I feel like there's so many anecdotes that I could offer for Fashion Week just because I've done so many seasons, but I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to make it a super long episode. I just want you guys to take that on board, and I really hope to see some of your faces at London Fashion Week, or if not, there are other fashion weeks available. I'm not just saying London Fashion Week. I actually think some of the other fashion weeks are a lot better, but I'm yet to go to them. So you've got Copenhagen, you've got New York, which is coming up right now as we speak, right before London, and then you've obviously got London and Paris. So there's loads, and Milan, can't forget Milan. But yeah, there's loads of fashion weeks, there's lots going on. Keep yourself informed. If you can't attend, look online, read up, read your magazines, and just keep in the know. Work out what's going on, look at what different designers are doing. If you want to get into like fashion design, if you want to actually assist the designers, contact them. Look at the British Fashion Council website, go through all the RSVP emails. They're on there, guys. Even if you don't get a ticket, you've got the RSVP emails. Get your contacts in now. That's all I'm going to give you. But that's everything for this week's episode of Staying Sweet. Thank you so much for tuning in to Staying Sweet, the podcast. If you enjoyed listening, please do leave a review, and I will catch you next week for a new episode. Stay sweet.